Calling all my sweeties to the forefront. I'm your host, Renee Hayslett, and this is the Keep It Positive Sweetie Show. Hey, Kids family, I am so excited about this episode because I have my dear friend, Melissa Proctor, with me. Melissa is the CMO of the Atlanta Hawks, and she is the co-founder of Pravida Health here in Atlanta, Georgia. Guys, we have known each other for a few years, but it feels like forever. Kids family, please give a very warm, sweetie welcome to Melissa Proctor. Melissa, finally, we got you here. Thank you so much. I know you are busy this time of year or all the time. You're a mother and a businesswoman, so I don't think there's ever a moment where you're not busy, so thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. As a fan of the show and the fact that I've seen so many episodes, I am honored to finally be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate your support. You came to my first live show. You let me know that you watched the episode, so I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes. So we met like 3 years ago, which feels like an eternity. We're both like, it was way longer than that. I think it's about 3 years ago doing the BMW Uncorked series, and immediately we hit it off. Like we were locked in from that day on. And what I love about you is that you've always been a dreamer like me. From a very young age, you had all these big dreams that probably seemed so outlandish to people who heard it.
Yeah,
right?
very much so.
You wanted to be the first female NBA coach, but you became the first female ball girl for the Miami Heat. Now, little backstory. I read that you, at the age of 15, you wrote letters and you called the Miami Heat every single day. Tell me about that.
I harassed them. So when I was 15, my mom, who was a registered nurse, born and raised in Belize, knew nothing of American sports. I told her I wanted a job.
Yeah.
And she said, okay, Mel, if you want a job, get a job in whatever you're going to do for the rest of your life. No clue at 15 what I was going to do. I was an artist. I was always drawing and painting.
Yes.
But I knew that I loved watching basketball. One of my cousins introduced me to the game, but I would watch it like a soap opera on TV for the storylines. But whenever I watched, I never saw women. So this was before there were female referees or assistant coaches or anything.
Yeah.
And so I said, Mom, I'm going to be the first female coach in the NBA. She said, okay, go get a job in the NBA. And that was it. Like she laid down the gauntlet and there was no other option.
Wow.
And so I'd never been to a game, never been to the Miami Arena, which is where they used to play. And so I started calling 1-800 number, like white pages. And I called, how else do you get in? And so I'm making phone calls. And I think I got someone in community relations. And they were like, I'm sorry, we don't have any jobs for kids. Try the equipment manager. And so I got connected to a guy named Jay Sable, who was then the equipment manager. And I started calling him. He wouldn't pick up. And I was like, let me write letters to Jay. So I would write letters, but I would draw on them. I would draw pictures of the players. I would draw, Miami Heat logos, basketballs, anything. And so one day I called him again and he picked up. He was like, I've got your letters. You're a tremendous artist, but I don't have any jobs for girls.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what you would do. This is grunge work. It's coming early, staying late, mopping sweat, folding towels. And I was like, well, I want a job. Because clearly I have no other option.
Right.
And so I kept calling and he was like, if you call me one more time, I'm not going to hire you. And I was like, okay. So then I stopped for like a week and then I kept on calling.
Come on.
Then eventually he was like, you know what, you have a lot of heart.
Yes.
Like the fact that he's like, well, why don't you come in for a preseason game? And to me, I was like, actually go to the arena like for a game.
Whoa.
Had no idea. And so I went and that was my first NBA game ever. I think we played the Magic that year. And I got an outfit. It was like a Reebok champion, like sweatsuit.
I couldn't tell you nothing.
I was like, this free? And they were like,
yes.
And it was the most amazing thing. It was like watching TV come to life in the real world. And that was
Take us to that moment when you walked to the Miami Arena and was like walking into your dream literally. How did that feel at that age?
I mean, I don't think I knew the gravity of it at the time because I was just kind of like, I hope I don't mess up. Mind you, I never played basketball. I was always an artist. So I never I didn't know how to rebound. Like it was, they were like, go under the basket and rebound. I was like standing directly under the basket like. Like I got hit, got knocked down, busted lip, all that first day. Never forget. And it was one of those like learn quick. And there was a guy named James, one of the other ball boys who was definitely like from the hood around the Miami Arena. He was like, hey, I'm gonna show you the ropes.
Love that.
And he took me under his wing. He's like, this is how we hustle. We gotta carry, like shoes for the players or carry their bags in and out the locker room. But because women weren't allowed in the locker room, I couldn't go back there. Like I couldn't do what he did.
Right.
So I had to learn a whole other world on the court. So I ended up trying to help Stan Van Gundy, who was an assistant coach at the time. And I'd
Mm.
be like, all right, well, let me help you with the players. So he'd be like, stand right here and hold this pick. And I'd learned so much about the game.
Wow.
But that's so they ended up calling me Queen because I used to love living single.
Mhm.
And Queen
Yeah.
Latifah was like my person.
Yes.
And so I was queen and I was the queen of the court. So I would be out there diving for loose balls. Like I was in a game. Like I really
Yeah.
thought I was like contributing.
Yes.
But it ended up being the beginning of my career in sports and probably one of the most amazing jobs I ever had.
Wow, I love that. When you think about the drive that our generation has, that I feel like this new generation lacks, they're not calling and writing
No,
and really going after
no.
what they want, and I don't know where we lost that in the translation of the times, but I think it's something that isn't a lost art, and to really get what you want. What do you feel is something that you could tell this younger generation really how to go after what they want the way you did?
So much of it is like just not accepting no for an answer.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it was my mom. My mom would always say, nothing beats a trial but a failure. She's like, the least you
Mm,
can do is ask. The worst they're going to say is no.
right.
And I realized for a lot of times, if you have pride and it was like, or the expectation that everything
Mhm.
should come to you.
Right.
So it's like, well, you just need to give it to me.
Mhm.
There was so much more of like, she would always say, you got to kiss ass till you could kick it. And that was like her term. And so I remember coming in as a ball kid, there were
Yeah.
people who were incredibly disrespectful.
Mm.
Like I'm just here mopping up sweat,
Yeah.
but I'm sitting with billionaire people behind me, or like I
Yes.
remember Jimmy Buffett was behind me like every game, and
What?
I had no idea who he was. And I'm like, why do people keep asking for your autograph? And
Right.
one day he's like, I'm Jimmy Buffett. I was like, oh. Then I was like, oh my God, you're
Ye
Jimmy. There
yes.
were so many things where it didn't matter who you were, like you respect
Mhm.
everybody,
Yep.
regardless of what class you are, regardless of
Mhm.
what role you play. And I think that
Yeah.
job taught me that. And I think for this
Mhm.
next generation, there's so much of that that needs to
Mhm.
happen. And there's
Yes.
so many examples of people who did a little bit of work and got a lot of success, and now
Yeah.
everyone wants to replicate that.
Right.
But the reality
Yeah.
is you don't see it. And I think the social media microwave
Mm-mm.
society just shows you the highlights but not the work.
Come
And I don't
on.
think we had that viewpoint. I mean, there was still some to a certain degree,
Mhm.
um, but you saw more of the grind. And
Yeah.
I think for me, I'll tell everyone, like, to this day, if someone said, "Hey, Mel, you got to go mop up sweat this game," I'm like, "All right, I know how to make a mop." I'd be out there because
Yeah.
I'm never too far away from where I started. And
Yes.
so, like, it doesn't matter what stage of career you're at, you should always be
Right.
able to humble yourself to go and do whatever it takes to get the job done.
Mhm. Absolutely. I agree with that. And that's something I live by too, is treat every person with respect. I don't care what they're doing.
I've
Because we are
learned
never too far from that.
I learned in corporate America when I started working at Turner, they were like, you always respect the assistants and the drivers
Mhm.
because they hold the keys to everything and
Ooh.
stuff that you don't even think about. And I was like, wow, if you're trying to get with any
Mhm.
CEO or CMO and you're like, I
Yeah.
want time on your calendar, those are the
Mhm.
people who hold the keys to the time.
Sure do.
And people don't, and so even when I'm interviewing people now for roles, I'll say, hey, I'll ask, the assistant or the person that works the front desk, how do they
Mhm.
treat you?
Yeah.
Because it's not about how they treat me. They're always
Mm.
going to talk up for me, but
Right.
it's so much more about them. And I'm like, oh, I have
Mhm.
a no jerk policy.
Yep.
So I'm
I do
like,
the
oh,
same thing. That
they
is
didn't treat you
so
well.
yes, I always wanna make sure that my team and anybody who's representing me is representing me to the fullest.
100%.
Yes, because you definitely don't want that, and a lot of times you won't know unless you
You
ask.
never know.
Yes, that is so true. Now you wrote a book, From Ball Girl to CMO,
Yeah.
and, I wanna know at what age did you realize that you could handle leadership at the highest level? Like, when did you to even write a book you tell me all the time, "Crystal, when do you write the book?"
Chris, I'm still waiting on your book.
No.
Thanks. Thanks. I don't know that I ever knew, to be
Mm,
honest. And
mhm.
the only reason I wrote my book was for my daughter. And so I have my
Marley,
daughter, her name
yes.
is Marley. She's 11 now, but when
Yeah.
she was born, my mom had passed away 2 years before Marley was
Mm,
born.
mhm.
And my mom and I were real close. That was like my
Yeah.
bestie. And I really believe that I gave birth to my mom through my daughter because she is my mother that came back to life. But when she was born, I had so many questions for my mom that I wouldn't have
Mhm.
asked until I became a mom.
Right.
And I was just like, man, God forbid something happens to me while Marley's still young.
Mhm.
So many people were like, oh, you should write a book. Your story's so interesting. And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want her to have to hear my story through other people. So I was like, let me just put it down. It took a long
Yeah.
time to actually get it done. I'm not a
Yeah.
writer, I'm not a reader, but it was so much more for her. So when I was done, I didn't even think about sales or actually
Mhm.
launched her in September 2020 in the height of
Wow.
COVID.
Yeah.
No book launch, no part, no nothing. And
Yeah.
people were like, well, how are you going to market it? I was like, I don't care about
Right.
marketing it. I wrote it for her.
Wow. And that
But
says a lot as a marketer. Like,
yeah, I was like,
marketing is your
I didn't
thing.
even think about it. I was like, it's not
Wow.
about, it wasn't the reason, that wasn't the why.
Mhm.
But in terms of leadership, so much of my journey has been like wherever God has had me at that time.
Mhm.
And I would raise my hand to take on these jobs, and people would tap me on my shoulder and say, hey, you interested in this? I may
Yes.
have wanted to go and try a whole different career.
Mhm.
At times I was like, I'm going to go work in an ad agency, and it never panned out.
Yeah.
But I just had opportunities that kept coming. And so even in
Mhm.
going to the Hawks, I'd gotten laid off when I was 8 months pregnant with Marley.
Oh, wow.
I was at Turner for about 11 years, and I was part of a digital health and wellness startup.
Mhm.
And then one CEO left, a new one came in. We were the
Mhm.
last business started and the first one to get cut. So the entire business unit got laid off. And
Wow.
I was like out with HR recruiting young interns because I started as an intern in that
Mhm.
company. And so no
Yeah.
one could believe it. Like, listen, it has to be a Turner. That's what this is.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'll just figure it out. I
Mhm.
had my daughter, and about a month or two later, I ended up going to a draft party
Yeah.
at the arena, Phillips Arena, then as a fan. My homegirl was like, girl, you have no job. It's a free party.
Come
Come
on.
through. And so I went and then ran into literally an old mentor of mine who had left Turner to
Mm.
go to become CEO of the Hawks
Yes.
when I
Mhm.
was still at Turner. So I hadn't spoken to
Wow.
him, didn't have any conversation. He knew that I
Mm.
loved brand building. He knew that I
Mhm.
loved basketball. So my first
Yes.
year in Atlanta, I was a ball girl on the court for the Hawks,
Yes.
mopping up sweat one season, and he would sit courtside and see me
Getting it.
doing my thing. And
Yeah.
literally, I ran into him, and he was like, oh, I want to introduce you to some people. And he
Mm.
walks me around the party and introduces me to every C-level executive
Mhm.
that's for the Hawks. And everyone I met, they're like, oh, we can't wait for you to start. And I was like, start
Melissa.
what? And ultimately, he was like, I know you love basketball. I know you love branding. I
Yeah.
might need some help building a brand. We're in the
Mhm.
middle of redesigning our jerseys. I know you're a creative and an artist. Would you mind sitting in on some meetings? I have a team here, but I love your perspective. And I was like,
Yes.
absolutely. And I started doing it for free. Like, I was like, I'm just happy to be out my house.
Right.
I think my then mother-in-law was there, the kid. I was like, just get me
Get me
out.
out
I
of
can
here.
do it. And so started going to meetings, and one became 5, became 10. And he was like, I think I should pay you. Would you like to consult? Absolutely. And
Yes.
so I started consulting, and we started consulting on building a brand and what the
Yeah.
Hawks were going to be.
Yeah.
And then that turned into becoming vice president of brand strategy. Never had that as the vision of what it was going to be, but
Mm.
ultimately, some years later, he was like, what do you think about being chief marketing officer? And I was like, no, thank you.
Really?
Absolutely not. I want to know part of it. And he was
Why?
like,
Why not?
well, I think at the time I had become an individual contributor, and I
Yeah.
loved it. And
Mhm.
I could work with every department. I was
Yeah.
helping with digital monetization. I was helping with design stuff over here. I was giving
Yeah.
perspective on how to build out an internal agency, but
Mhm.
I didn't have a team and direct reports, and it was just
Yeah.
very freeing, and I could kind of contribute in every way I wanted.
Yes.
But
That's
he
that
needed,
creative in you.
yeah, but he
Yeah.
needed like specific help, and I was like, ooh, don't box me in,
Right.
put me in a
Yes.
corner.
Right.
Um, and then ultimately, it kind of came to a point where he's like, Melissa, I really need you to do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's like, do you know why I want you to take this role or be CMO? And I was like, no, why? He's like, because you don't want it. And I
Wow.
thought it was so
My God.
compelling at the time. And he was
Mhm.
like, look, most people want this job because they think it's going to give them money or
Mhm.
power.
Yeah.
Sports don't pay. The
Mhm.
perception of power is always one thing.
Mhm.
And I had a mantra, and I was like, I just want to make dope ish. Like
Yeah.
that's it. We have it on the wall. Like that's all I
Yeah.
want to do. Make stuff that's cool,
Mm.
different, and people can like gravitate towards.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's why I want you to do this job because of your
Mm.
why.
Yes.
And after that, I was like, okay, total imposter syndrome, was afraid. I said, well,
Yeah.
if I do, can I get an executive coach?
Mhm.
He was like, you want a coach?
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, I don't know what I don't know.
Come
I may
on.
have gaps, and I want to
Yeah.
help, fill those. And he was like, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
Most men would say if you get a coach, they think they're getting fired. And here you
Mm.
are asking me for a coach.
Wow.
And I was like, that's just who I am. And that
Yeah.
coach, her name was Cheryl Jordan. She's amazing. She helped me so much in just
Mhm.
360, figuring out that I was a micromanager because I was always used to doing the work.
Everything
And so
exactly.
I was like, if you're doing it, hey, how's it? Where is it? Can I get it?
Okay, Melissa, stop. Get out my business.
But it was
What's in here? We're like, yep,
yep,
that's
yep,
her.
yep.
That's
So
me.
someone's like, you gave me a project today, and tomorrow you're asking for an update. Like, I didn't even start yet. I think I
Ooh!
struck a nerve.
Yeah, hours. So
You
where are we
know,
on that?
I mean, it's real
Right.
talk, real talk.
That is
Um,
so funny because that is so me.
but I
I'm
had to
working on it.
learn. And so, I mean, in terms of preparation for leadership, I don't think anything
Yes.
could have prepared me.
Right.
And then when I was put into it, it was like,
Mhm.
okay, understanding what works, what doesn't,
Yeah.
how to be better. I think of myself as a servant leader. I
Mhm.
want to make sure that I leave any environment better than it was when I got there.
Yeah.
So even for my team now, they've been with me a long time. They're amazing people. We work
Mhm.
really well together. And I'm always
Yeah.
like, how can I help you be a better person?
Right.
Outside of the Hawks are here. Because
Mhm.
if you decide that you're going to leave, that's flattery. If other people
Yeah.
are poaching you, that means
Mhm.
we're doing a great job.
Yeah,
Instead
absolutely.
of trying to keep you for myself. And I had a lot of leaders throughout my career
Mhm.
that always were, it's called keep you under my arm because you help
Uh-huh.
me look good. So I just want to
Yes.
keep you right here without
Right.
stunting your growth. I
That's
don't
so
want that for
good.
anybody.
You are a true definition of your gifts will make room for you.
Yeah.
The fact that like everything you've done from being an artist, you're an incredible artist. That's another thing I wanted to ask you. Have you ever like put your work in like in a museum for exhibits?
You know, it's wild. I was just looking through some old pictures this morning
Oh,
randomly.
yeah.
And I found an exhibition, pictures of me at an exhibition I had done
Yeah.
in like high school. And I was traveling around Florida. I had a manager helping me manage my art.
Honey,
I
I
had
think you
basketball
need to do
players
that too.
buying my art.
Yes.
And it's so crazy because I would do like artwork on commission. I went to
Yeah.
Wake Forest on an art scholarship.
Yes.
And so I had done a lot of exhibitions.
Mhm.
And when I moved to Atlanta, started working at Turner, at one point I had a design job.
Wow.
And it was the end of my art career. Once I got paid for creating, it was like it almost took the
The
passion for it away because it just
yeah.
became work.
Wow.
And so my daughter Marley's an amazing artist. She loves
She
anime
got it.
and characters. Like I see it through her now,
Yeah.
but I don't have the desire
Really?
anymore
Because I was gonna
to
ask you,
create. I mean, I do a little something for you.
I need some of that in my house because it's so
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Yes. Oh,
Thank you.
like you guys have to get her book and you can see some of her artwork. It is absolutely
Yeah,
stunning.
I
Yeah.
haven't. I figured it may come around another time, in my
Yeah.
life. But, for now, I say that I use my creativity to find like creative solutions to business challenges.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
still like using the same muscle, but in a different way.
Right. Speaking of business challenges, and you talked about imposter syndrome very on early in your career. How did you overcome that? And what was like one of those moments that really stand out where you literally outer body experience of you experiencing imposter syndrome, where you're like, I don't belong here. What is happening? Who do
Man,
you think you are? Because these are all the thoughts that we think when we're right where we belong, but we don't think we do.
I don't even know if I just have one.
Mm.
I mean, there's so many
Yeah.
throughout my career. And I'll probably say maybe when I started at the Hawks,
Mm-hmm.
because the perception was, the CEO, I worked with him previously. He brought me in and was a
Yeah.
little bit like, "Oh, you're just here because you know him," and
Right.
whichever. So I really had to come in and prove myself.
Yes.
And I remember when we had to onboard a new ownership team,
Mhm.
and my boss gave me the job. He's like, "Melissa, help with onboarding." I don't know anyone who's onboarded an ownership team for a
Right.
professional sports organization. I'm like, I have no clue what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it was calling other teams and asking questions and then just figuring things out. They're like,
Mhm.
okay, they're not from here. Let's do tours. Let's do this. Put these binders together. Let's help educate.
Right.
And by the end of it, they were like, it was such an amazing experience. He was like, I'm going to promote you to this new position. I'm like, what? And so much and what I learned in that is like, nobody knows what they're doing.
Come on.
And at certain
We
times,
don't.
especially for senior level, like people think that, oh, you have it all figured out. Like
No.
and I'm like, no, no one knows. And it's so freeing when you finally get that point because it's like you
Yes.
can't mess up.
Mm-mm.
It's like and I think COVID was a great example of that because there were so many leaders. Everyone was figuring it out on the fly.
Yes. Oof.
And some people in better ways than others.
Mhm.
But once you get that, it's like all you're trying to do is make the best decision for the business that you can at the
Yeah.
time.
No, for
And through
sure.
experience, it helps you understand what things may or may not work. But
Mhm.
that's ultimately, and I was like, oh, none of y'all know.
Yeah.
All right, we cool. 'Cause if anything, I'm resourceful. And I was like, I'm gonna figure
Yes.
something out.
No, for sure. Yes. What are some of the challenges that you have faced as a woman in sports? Because we both know that being a woman in sports is it's a very male dominated
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
And you are one of the few women that are in a high position. What
It's
is that?
interesting. It's
Yeah.
evolved so much. Like I
Mhm.
remember when I started with the league almost 11 years now with the
Mhm.
Hawks, I would go to NBA meetings and it would be a lot of men.
Yeah.
Some women, but it's
Mhm.
so different now.
Oh,
It's much
good.
more diverse. It's seniors on
Mhm.
the business side,
Mhm.
even in some on the basketball side, but definitely on the business
Mhm.
side. You see a lot more women presidents of teams
Yeah.
and things like
How
that.
does that make you
There were
feel?
none. So like there's
Y
opportunity. If a
yes.
lot of you can't be what you can't see.
Mm.
So seeing Sint Marshall when she was, leading up
Mhm.
the Mavericks, and it's like, okay, I got it now. Like that's
Mhm.
a thing. Um, and so there's definitely opportunity. I almost see being a woman in sports as a superpower.
Yeah.
Especially on like who's buying tickets, who do we market to? A lot
Mhm.
of times like it's us,
It is us. Yeah. Uh-huh.
and that's a good thing. I mean, early in my career, there were definitely times where I would be helping out and working on scouting reports back in the day. I
Mhm.
would do stuff for the Heat, and I remember having someone tell me like, "We don't pay you to think, we pay you to do what we tell you to do." And I was like, yo,
What?
okay. I don't like that. That's not
Yeah.
necessarily what I see for my life. But as I've grown, one, I'd never forget those things. So
Mhm.
as a leader, I want to make sure that everyone feels empowered. But as
Yeah.
a Black woman, I mean, and you know me, I'm
Mm.
normally in sweats and, Nikes and
She got
chilling.
dressed up for me,
I
y'all.
got, I channel my inner crystal. I styled myself. But I remember when I first got promoted to CMO, and I tell this
Mhm.
story how I went to go park, and they have reserved parking spaces when you're an executive. I
Yeah.
was like, I got promoted. I'm an executive now. I can park in a good spot.
Okay.
And so I went to park at the arena in the reserved place where players park.
Mhm.
And security came out to my car and said, "Excuse me, ma'am, I'm sorry, you can't park here. The space is reserved for executives."
Mm.
And I was like,
Mm.
okay. And so I had to take out my badge and show, and it said like executive on the bottom.
Yeah.
And it was a brother, and he looked at me. He was so confused, like,
Yeah.
all right, go ahead. But I realized in that
Wow.
moment, I was changing his perspective or stereotype of what an NBA executive looked like,
Exactly.
because I got
Yeah.
locks and nose ring, like, and I'm the same all the
Mhm.
time, regardless.
Yeah, you
And I don't
are.
think people expect that. So the number of times where
Yes.
I've gone places and people just underestimate, and not just
Mhm.
because I'm a woman, because I'm a Black woman
Right.
in sports at this in this position.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but I love like when I get to talk to youth and they're like, "Oh man, but you're so cool."
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, I didn't expect that." And
Y
I'm like, "Yes, you can
yeah.
be a regular person." I mean, I always say I'm just warming the seat,
Yeah.
because this
Mm.
job isn't mine forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And ultimately, I'm grateful for the opportunity, and as many
Mhm.
people as I can help while I'm in it, I want to do
Right.
that. But
Yeah.
I don't define myself by the job, but a lot
Mhm.
of people define me by it.
Oh, Melissa, how does that make you feel when you don't define yourself by it, but other people do?
It's so annoying. If I go
Yeah.
outside, people are like, "Oh, yo, that's Melissa from the Hawks. Hey, let
Mhm.
me get some tickets. Hey, let me get a job. Hey, I got this thing, this brand I want to promote." And I know that if I didn't have this role,
You
none of them
wouldn't.
would be speaking to me. And I
Mm.
know that, and I'm okay with it. But I
Yeah.
realized when I was at Turner, a lot of people
Man.
got let go,
Yeah.
after all the changes, and the company sold a couple of times. And I
Mhm.
saw people felt like they were going through a divorce. They're like, "How could
Mm.
they do this to me?" And I'm
Wow.
like, "It's a job."
Stop. It
Like,
happens.
but if their whole identity is wrapped up in this position, if they
Yeah.
lose the position, they don't know who they are.
That's real.
I tell people today, if I was a greeter at Walmart tomorrow, like, I would be equally as cool and still very much me.
You be the coolest
And it,
greeter.
yo, what up? Welcome to Walmart. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all good,
Yeah.
but I always have to maintain that mentality, because
Mhm.
and because I got laid off when I was 8 months pregnant, I think now I can go to work every day like, you never know.
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
And it's freeing because I'm not holding on to it. I would be sad
Absolutely.
because I love what I
Yeah.
do and I love my team. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, that means God is just preparing me for my next adventure.
Absolutely. Yes. Speaking of an adventure, you went to get your master's degree in design studies and branding from Central St. Martin's College of Art and Design at the London Institute.
It's a mouthful.
It's a
It's a mouthful.
mouthful. Listen, I love London.
Me
How
too.
did you end up in London?
Girl, random story. So my mom, I mentioned she's from Belize, she's
Uh-huh.
colonized by the British. She went to nursing school in England. And so
Really?
my entire life, I heard about her friends in York and all these things. And it wasn't like fancy or fabulous. Like if you
Yeah.
were in Belize, you either were a teacher or a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were, then you went to London for nursing school. And so she
Wow.
did. And I had never been to Europe my entire childhood. And I just remember it was like a mythical place.
Yes.
When I would see pictures of her. She was the only Black person in her class.
Mm.
And so I would always be like, one day I'm gonna go to London.
Yeah.
I have family from Jamaica. My father's from Jamaica. I have an uncle and two cousins and an aunt that moved to Jamaica.
Mhm.
Moved from Jamaica to London.
Okay.
So they were like call them my British cousins.
Yeah.
And I was like, one day I'm gonna visit them. And I
Mhm.
remember an undergrad at Wake that had a study abroad program. So I did a
Mm.
semester abroad. It was the
Okay.
first time I got on a plane in London, and I fell in love with it.
Mm.
But I was in a house with a bunch of Americans, and like we traveled, we did some really cool stuff, but I didn't feel like I really got like a actual experience
Mhm.
being in London, because it was kind of like it was an Americanized experience.
Okay.
And so I said, if I can go back, I want to go to like a British school, be in a dorm, live with people from all over the world.
Yes.
And so that's what I did. After I graduated, I came to Atlanta, worked at Turner for a year,
Uh-huh.
and they offered me a job like 6 months in.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh man, this is a great opportunity, but I
Yeah.
really want the chance to live abroad. And so I turned down the job, and I got into the program in London.
Mhm.
It's a 1 year master's degree. And
Yeah.
so I literally went as an excuse to live abroad and have that opportunity. And so I couldn't do it. And what I realized then, if you didn't have the amount of money you needed for the year in your
Mhm.
bank account, they won't let you go. So it
Oh,
wasn't like you can
wow.
get financial aid and all of that.
Yeah.
So I needed $20,000.
Mhm.
And I was like, how am I get it? How am I get it? One
Right.
of my colleagues at the time was like, why don't you just ask for it? So I made some proposals and I was like, I'll give my artwork or I'll just be a great citizen. Give me
Yeah.
$20,000.
Yeah.
And it was the year the All-Star game was in Atlanta. So I was mopping up sweat for the game and I was
Yeah.
shopping it around, gave it to players, anybody, family members.
Mhm.
And ultimately it was Tim Hardaway, one of the players that I knew from my Heat
Yes.
days, who was like, my wife and I saw your proposal. We really believe in you.
Wow.
Here's
This is
this
the
money.
father, Tim Hardaway.
Yeah.
What?
Senior, Tim Senior. So when I was a ball girl for the Heat, I like worked Tim Jr.'s birthday party. He
Are
was
you
like 4.
serious?
I was a ball girl. He was like, hey, can you come help out at the party? I'm like, oh, I'm going to Tim
Yes.
Hardaway's house.
That
It
is
was like, can you carry
crazy.
this ice? Put it in his bucket. I was like, all right.
I
But from then they were like family to me. And so
Yes.
he's like, my wife and I have always believed in you. We love you.
Mm.
And I was like, well, I'll pay it back over time. He was like, pay it forward. And
Oof.
it was the biggest blessing. And so that's what got me to London. And it was
Yes.
amazing. Awesome program, great friends that
Mhm.
I made, lifelong friends from my experience now going to school in England.
Right. That's
And coming back,
amazing.
like I wouldn't trade it. And I'm so glad I did it at that stage of life.
So you were a mother at this point?
No,
Oh,
no,
you
no, no.
hadn't had Marley.
Oh
Okay, so
no, this was
I remember
like
you were turning. You're
way
like, no,
back.
this is way back. Okay.
Way
Oh, I
back.
was gonna ask, how did you manage that? But
Oh no, no,
wow.
no. I don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a whole other world.
Right.
No.
That's crazy. Similar to you, I've always wanted to study abroad. I feel like the British actors are the best. So when we went on strike probably about 2 years ago, I remember I'm always like a solution oriented person, not like, oh, what are we doing? What's happening? How can I make the most of this time? So I started looking up different schools that I could go to do like
Really?
intensive courses in London. And I remember I was told Tyler what I wanted to do. And he was like, oh, he was like, I wouldn't do it. He was like, only because this strike is going to be over with before you know it. Well, it wasn't.
It was not.
It was not over before we knew it. And I was like, dang it, I should have went. But it's one of those things where I still want to do that.
And you
That's
can
still a
still
dream
go?
of mine. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I do. I want that experience of studying abroad.
I remember it so vividly because I got
Mhm.
to like feel like I was immersed in it. Like at first it
Yes.
was like, okay, you're in, you're out. But it was like,
Mhm.
getting the bus and going to the markets for groceries and like
Yes.
making friends. And
Mhm.
like it was such a great time. I think I was maybe like 25.
Wow.
And so
Oh,
it was just good.
yes. I'm sure that helps shape you as well.
Yeah.
Something about moving away from home that
Hmm.
really does a lot of shaping. For me, it was Washington, D.C.
Hmm.
You were London, and I know those moments definitely shaped me for sure.
100%.
Yeah. When you think about your leadership style, what are some of the core principles that anchor every big decision that you have to make?
From a work perspective, I always think of my values. Like I go
Yeah.
back to my why, and I'll tell
Mm-hmm.
the team too, even explaining like why we're doing it. Like just don't rush through it. Like explain
Yeah.
how we got there and the why.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes to like business decisions, a lot of it is like focusing on what are we doing? What do we need as an
Yeah.
organization? What do the fans need? What does the community
Right.
need?
Mm-hmm.
Which is important. When it comes to personal decisions, I talk a lot about in my book as well about my guiding principles for
Yes.
like my
Because people
life.
ask you, yes,
Yeah,
instead
for
of
my
like
life and
the,
my career.
yeah.
And that's a different one. And I
Mm-hmm.
think at some point in my career, I remember I wanted to be in branding. I'd gone
Mm-hmm.
to grad school in London to focus on brand strategy. I love branding. I wanted to
Yeah.
learn more about it. And I think I was maybe 26. I'd come back from London. I worked for a couple of years at a job. And then I finally, maybe it was like 28, I got a branding job as
Mm-hmm.
director of brand strategy. Got to rebrand Court TV to True TV.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was like, oh man, this is cool. I
Yeah.
got to work on it. But when I got the brand job, I was like, what's next? Do I retire? Like, what are we gonna do?
Right.
And so I had to kind of redefine what, success kind of looked like to me.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I had a lot of mentors that were like, you should really create your guiding principles for your life and your career. What should that
Wow.
be? And I never really thought of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took some time to, ask these questions of like, what would I do if, for free?
Yeah.
What is my superpower? What things
Mm-hmm.
do I dislike, despise? What keeps me up at night? All these things. And I kind of
Yeah.
landed, I call them my starting five.
Mm-hmm.
And they're almost like the filter that I use for every decision that I make,
Yeah.
both personally and professionally.
Mm-hmm.
And so one is, I have the ability to both be really creative, like
Mm-hmm.
with the art, but
Yeah.
also strategic from a business sense.
Yes.
And I've had business strategy jobs that I hated because it was all
Mm.
strategy and there was no creativity.
Yeah.
And I had all creative jobs, like I mentioned, with the art job, which at first I liked, and I was like, that's not for me either. But my
Mm-hmm.
superpower is when I can bring both of those together.
Right.
And this role is very creative and strategic business wise. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why I thrive in it.
Yeah.
The second is I get bored real easily. Like if I can do it in my sleep, I don't want to do it.
Right.
And so I'll always say that I want to be adding more tools to my personal toolbox. If I was an
Mm-hmm.
agency of one, what new capability am I adding to
That's
my
good.
capabilities presentation? So
Right.
anything that I do, if I could already do it before I start, I don't need to be doing it.
Mm.
The third is my mom was not the best with money growing up.
Mhm.
Whether it was like stuff getting cut off or, bill collectors calling. And I said,
Mhm.
whatever I do, I want to be able to pay my bills on time
Mhm.
or ahead of time was the goal. Then after
Yeah.
I had my daughter, it was thinking about generational, wealth
Yes.
building. Like, what can I do
Absolutely.
for her long term where,
Mhm.
I'm not leaving her in debt.
Right.
Um, my fourth is some sense of like work life harmony. I
Mm.
don't think there's ever balance. We both work really hard.
Harmony is a good way to put
It's
it.
harmony.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to work really hard. Sometimes you got
Mm.
to live really hard in a
Yeah.
great way.
Yes.
And making sure that I'm always in a position where I'm able to do that when I
Mhm.
can, especially with
Yeah.
my daughter. Like
Yes.
being able to spend time with her when she needs it. That's important to me.
Mhm.
And then the last one is authenticity,
Mm.
because how I am right now is how I
Baby.
am no matter where you see me in any
Yes.
environment, trap house or the White House. Like Melissa's gonna be what she is. And so
Absolutely.
those are like my starting five.
Mhm.
And every decision I've made, I ladder it up to those. And I'm like, does it check these boxes? And
Mhm.
if it does, it's something that I know that I would be happy with.
I
And
love
so even
that.
from a professional sense, people have come with opportunities and say,
Mhm.
hey, how would you like this opportunity? I can very easily say, well, can you handle these five things? And if
Mhm.
these can be met, we can have a conversation. And if not,
Right.
that's cool.
I love that. Guiding principles. I'm gonna take that on. I gotta find out what my starting 5
Yeah,
are.
you just
But I
gotta
love that.
define it. Define it. And
Yeah.
it can evolve, but I think it's so much of who you are at your core
Yeah.
that like that's important. Like another one
Mhm.
now is Atlanta. I had
Yeah.
had opportunities to leave Atlanta, and my daughter was like, I'm not leaving Atlanta. And so I'd love to travel and
Yeah.
go places. And so at some point, like another opportunity came, and
Mhm.
she was like, "No, mom."
Mm-mm.
And I said, "You know what? You didn't ask to be here.
Yes.
And if I could do anything by just having you stay here because you love this as your home, I
Yeah.
can make that sacrifice for you."
Absolutely.
So like a silent six is being in Atlanta if it's work related, because
Yes.
that's important for personally.
Yeah. Speaking of motherhood, you are an amazing mom.
Oh,
And
thank you.
Marley, when I tell you she is true to herself,
She is so herself.
baby, when I tell you she's very matter of fact, she is not fake.
No,
Like I love that
no.
child. She like you did a really good job
I always say,
because
always
she's
tell the truth. Sometimes I'm like, a little less truth, a little less truth. Bring it back. Bring it back.
right. When you talk about work life harmony and having a child, how do you find harmony with everything that you have going on? I see you bring her to games sometimes
Yeah.
against her will.
Yeah. She hates
Sometimes she
basketball.
looking like I do not want. I'm like, girl, do you understand who your mother
Once
is?
she eats, she's ready to go. That is her.
That is so funny. But how do you find harmony in everything that you have going on with motherhood?
She is my first priority. And I'll tell
Yeah.
everyone if I have to leave because she just started volleyball
Oh,
randomly.
awesome.
She tells all her friends that her parents forced her to pick a sport. And I was like, okay, you picked this one. So
Right.
but I really keep her first. And
hmm
so for as many things, and her dad and I, we co-parent really well, and I'm grateful for that.
That's good.
But it's so much like I will think of all the stuff I have to do. And I was telling a friend of mine, I often ask her, how can I be a better mom to you?
Wow.
And I've asked her since she was really young, and she'd
Yeah.
be like, you can give me more candy. Like it was real kid like. But
right.
now she's like, no, mom, like you're good. Or helping her
Wow.
sort through feelings that she has, or
hmm
she's like, you can be less cringe when you drop me off at school. And I was like, how? I'm like, oh, like turning down the volume at a song I really like to embarrass you. I'm like, no, I'm gonna be cringe. That's what it is. But just to like being able to communicate with her and make sure that we're
hmm
good. And at some point, like
Yeah.
I recently started an entrepreneurial endeavor,
hmm
and I asked her, and she's like, you work a lot now, or you're always tired.
hmm
And I'm glad because she gives me perspective of gaps that I don't even see that I have, where I'm like,
Yes.
okay, so
This
how
is
can
good.
I have the balance? And I'm like, okay, so note to self, I need to put work away. And when I have
hmm
time with her, like make that focus time. And she's like,
Yeah.
hey, we watch a movie together. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, put it on. And like, I'm
Uh-huh. She's
here.
like, "You're not watching, mom."
Correct. And so I'm like, you
Yeah.
know what? Like,
Mm.
stop that. Like, just sit with her and be there, because we only
Yeah.
have a couple hours. She's going to bed. And so it's just trying to
Yeah.
be more intentional
Mhm.
about things. But it's tough.
Yeah, I can
It's tough.
imagine. Yeah. Speaking of taking on new professional endeavors, how has that been? Let's talk about it. I'm excited. I actually went. You have Pravida Health,
Yes.
and I do want you to explain what it is because it was fascinating. Like I went to your facility, and we're actually going to go there too. But I went to the facility, and it was absolutely amazing, next level, like futuristic,
Well,
amazing.
thank you.
Yeah.
And so myself and my business partner, Dr. Trevor Turner, we opened up a wellness center in Atlanta in Buckhead, and it's
Mhm.
all around longevity and
Yeah.
like orthopedics, but really, how can you live as well as you can for as long as you can.
Yes.
And having all of these different modalities or services that we offer to do that. And, I was experienced wellness. My mom was a nurse, as I mentioned, an orthopedic nurse, ironically.
Right.
And, someone brought an idea to me around like, hey, how do we, could we do something like this? And Dr. Turner and I were introduced, and we were like, okay, if we were to do this, like, I want to be able to inform people of all of these things that have been in Hollywood and things like therapeutic plasma exchange, where people are taking all the microplastics out of their blood. Like,
Yes.
that's something that's like only billionaires do that. And I'm like, actually, no, it's
No.
pretty affordable. And, you can do that here. People don't
Yeah.
talk about it,
They
especially in the
don't.
Black community. So for me personally, in being an investor, initially I was like, I'm going to be a silent investor, just in the background. And then that quickly changed.
And I'm glad it did, because you say our community does not know about these things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known about it if it wasn't for you. So thank you for not being silent.
Well,
Yeah.
and God puts you in places where you didn't, like, this was never this was not my idea to
Yeah.
be where I am as a part of this business. But, things changed and it made it so that was the opportunity. And I was like,
Yeah.
there's clearly a reason, and I'm going to walk in it and, do the best I can as this vessel.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing because now we just had an open house on Saturday, and people came in and we learned about, we have IV therapy. We have an AI robotic massage table, which it's called Escape. People
It's
love it.
so good.
Literally, this robot is giving you a massage using
Yeah.
AI. They learn all the different massage techniques. And
Yes.
I've done it a bunch of times, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it really is good
It is.
in ways that I'm like, oh, okay.
I didn't know what to expect, but it was amazing. I felt really good
It's a
afterwards and
different
relaxed. It
experience.
is.
And so even as an owner in Pravida, I decided to invest in an executive physical because it's very much it's kind of the crux of everything that we do. Get all of this data about yourself, whether it's genomics, whether it's your gut health, understanding what vitamins you're deficient in, and not just taking random supplements, but taking supplements that really are for you based on your deficiency.
I love that you all do the IV cocktail
Yeah,
with all the vitamins that you
IV
need, not just
cocktails.
pumping you with random stuff.
And then for people that may not want IVs, we have a partnership with Vitamin Labs. We'll make supplement packets for you,
Yeah.
personalized
I
based on
love
what you
that.
need. We have an
Yeah.
amazing head of imaging, and so we have a DEXA scanner that tells you about your bone density.
Oh, I did that. I have the bones of a 30-year-old.
Okay. Go
He
girl.
was like, "You don't have any, there's no no,
Osteopenia,
yeah, nothing, none of that
osteoporosis,
in your
like,
future." I was like, "Come on, Lord."
but there's
Thick
so many
bones.
things about yourself you don't know. So as a part of our executive physical, we're a Prenuvo partner. If you've
Yes.
seen Prenuvo, you get a full body MRI, and I just did
I'm
it
coming to do
personally.
that. I've been wanting to do that, because that was something that the wealthy was doing to kind of
Yes.
get ahead of cancer or
You can
any
know
other
if you have
ailments.
stage 1 cancer.
Yes.
I mean, some people may have brain aneurysms and walk around and be unaware. And so
Unaware.
the
Ooh.
idea of preventative health is something that, in
Wow.
America, we're just so used to reactionary. Something has to go wrong. It's
Yeah.
really, then you're sick, and now you're in the system trying to get well.
Yeah.
And so for
Wow.
us, the whole idea of prevention and making it personalized to you is really, really where we are. And then
Yeah.
predictive. So a lot of it is the data. And ultimately, if you come in and you use our services, you'll know more about yourself than your primary care physician will know about you.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's crazy. I did not know. My mother passed away from a brain aneurysm. I had no idea that those scans would actually help with that
Yes.
too, because I had before, probably I haven't had them lately, and I don't know if it's because of like work stress when when I'm filming and stuff. But I was having these really bad dizzy spells, and I was like, because people can have brain aneurysms and not even know it.
Literally
That's
walking around
crazy.
having no idea.
Yeah, and I know it's not hereditary, but like to hear that this can actually let me know like what's going on there in my brain as well. I'm definitely got to do it now.
Yeah, I mean, and Dr. Turner is phenomenal, and so much. I mean, we talk about like shoulder injuries, knee,
Yes.
hip. I got back problems.
Yeah, because
and
I was like, girl, I was like, I don't know what's going on with my spine. I think I got a slip disc. You're like, come over,
I
we'll
was
look
like,
at you.
we'll check you
And
out.
I'm fine now. But now my thumb, I was like, I don't know what is going on.
Everybody got
After
something.
40, it's like everything just start breaking down.
I'm there with you. But this has truly been helpful for me, even just to know where you are for a baseline and be able to go back.
Absolutely.
And so I'm grateful for it. We're just starting out, and so the goal is really growth. Like we want people to come in and learn about it and take a tour and sample it. But ultimately, like I want Pravida Health everywhere in every state, and that's the long-term vision. And I hope that if we're doing things the right way and treating people well and really ultimately helping them, making impact on lives,
right.
That's where we'll go.
I love that. And I think this is a good time to go. Should we go over there?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Come on, we'll finish this at Pravida Health.
All right.
We're going on a trip in your favorite rocket ship. Climb aboard. Hey.
Welcome to Pravida Health.
We are here. Hey, ladies.
And this is our amazing team, Trinice and Andy.
Yes, we've met before. Doc, how are you
This is
doing?
my
Hi,
partner,
welcome back,
Dr.
Crystal.
Sir.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you. Happy to
Yeah.
be here. Happy to bring my Keep It Positive Sweetie community here so we can learn more about Pravida Health. Super excited for my dear friend Melissa and excited to show them everything you guys have to offer because it is definitely next level, futuristic. That's what I was telling her earlier. I was like, it's just a futuristic experience. So excited to see all you guys have to offer.
Cool, let's do it.
Let's get a tour.
So as we come back through this door past the massage room, you're going to see two kind of large medical interventions on the right. The first one over here is a table we use for diagnostics called a DEXA scanner for the ability to tell you about bone density, which is huge, especially as females age. We really focus on the prevention of osteopenia and osteoporosis, which is a major factor in how well people are moving and continue to move by avoiding fractures in their hip and spine.
I told them I had the bones of a 30-year-old.
Yes, you're,
It's like since she got it done.
you're probably, you were blessed with good habits and probably good genetics as well. So
Gotta lose some of that fat. But
thank your parents,
other than
thank your
that-
parents. And that leads us to the next part, which is body composition. So DEXA is the gold standard for body composition, which is great. It tells us not just about where your muscle is and where your fat is, but also about a hidden piece of fat that you can't see on the surface called visceral adipose, which is the fat around your organs, which almost acts like a hormone that secretes inflammation. And so we always pay attention to how much fat and how much muscle people have so that they can be resilient and age in a healthy way. But making sure that we don't have a lot of fat around organs is really, really critical. And we would treat patients differently depending on if there was a lot or a little of that. So as we move kind of past that room, if you look over here on the left side, this machine, you may have seen an ICU before. It's called a TPE, or Therapeutic Plasma Exchange. And we've got emerging data now that shows there's no other tool in medicine that really reduces mold, heavy metals, pesticides, herbicides, and now microplastics all together in a single session. We have some patients who are coming because there was an Italian study that showed you could reduce cognitive decline. And like for me and my family, that's really important. I had a grandfather with Alzheimer's.
Too, my dad does.
Grandmother, yeah. When you talk about microplastics, there's a lot of studies around drinking from plastic bottles and even microwaving plastics. Is that the type of microplastics that you're talking about this helps remove?
Yes, and we're finding that they're hidden in places maybe we wouldn't even expect. So I could ask for a paper cup, but it turns out the paper cup is lined with plastic on the inside. So, and even if I ask for a glass bottle,
I heard that about
there's
spring.
plastic on the
Yeah, I'm not
cap,
sure
right?
about that,
So-
but I heard that. Yeah.
exactly. And we, to what
crazy.
extent those
Yeah.
cause disease, we're just scratching the surface.
Wow.
But I'll give you one example. When we do heart surgery and we take plaques out of people's heart, we're finding that microplastics are embedded in some of those plaques. So the degree to which they cause either disease that we don't think about or disrupt hormones, et cetera, those are things that we're still studying and learning about in medicine. But I think a lot of people are becoming more attuned to how significant they really may be.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what is that process like? You draw the blood out. It goes through.
So this would be staffed by a nurse who's done this a bunch of times and is excellent because she stuck me in. She did a great job. It was a painless insertion.
Okay.
But you get two big IVs started. And so one of those IVs would take out your blood and your plasma. It would filter out the dirty plasma with all the inflammatory factors in it. And then it would put your blood back into your body in the same basically procedure.
Oh wow! So you're
Right.
Yeah,
using
two
both
IVs
arms.
at the same time.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah,
Oh Lord,
yeah.
I'd have to be like this.
Yep.
Well, so
I
we,
cannot
we,
live.
so
I
we
did it.
had, yes, and Melissa has experience. Yeah. So have I. But we had a patient who came in. Actually, he wore VR goggles the whole time.
That would be me.
So he just hung out for a couple hours and got his TPE and then took off
That's
afterwards. No
awesome.
big deal.
Watch
And there's
a
no
movie,
real,
too.
Yeah.
and no real recovery time associated with it. But I would say afterwards, I kind of felt like I did a hard workout. So,
Really?
Yeah. So I
Okay.
took one night off and I was back in the gym the next day.
Awesome.
So,
Okay, good to
yeah.
know.
Yeah. As we keep moving this way, you'll see this semi-rigid hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Hyperbaric oxygen kind of became known for treating divers who had injuries that stayed down too long under the ocean.
Yeah.
I supervised the chamber in Florida years ago, and then we got interested in it because it improves wound healing really well. So for me, if I'm doing any kind of orthopedic procedure for a patient, or especially here for our skincare patients, if they come to get chemical peels or microneedling or maybe a filler or Botox, being able to push oxygen under some pressure underneath the skin while you have a quote fresh wound a lot of times enhances your outcomes. And so we pay attention to that because we always say there's a good way to treat patients, there's a better way, and there's a best way. And really what we're trying to do is give everybody the best way every time they come in.
Yeah.
As we keep moving to the side, there's an IV therapy suite. You're probably familiar with IV therapy because there's a lot of places that do it. One thing that's unique about how we do it is every IV a patient gets here is a prescription from me, and that prescription is really based on your unique micronutrient profile. So that means the kind of IV you're getting is going to be different from what I would get or Melissa would get,
Right.
because it's going to be tailored to your specific physiology.
Right.
And we, at Pravida, the mission is always personalization. So we want you to have the most effective IV you could get every time,
I love that.
if you have a need for that type of
Right.
therapy.
Okay.
And then as we keep moving down the way, we have this kind of very bright, white, fancy room, which is where the aesthetics are done. My room is a little more basic as we're doing ortho. It's a little more straightforward, but this device is called a fluoroscope.
Oh, wow.
And so if we have to do an advanced procedure for somebody's spine or joints, this giant C allows you to rotate around the body, and that allows me to capture essentially a three-dimensional picture. So it enables me to be very, very safe in the event that I need to do a procedure. It also enables me to be highly accurate.
Right.
So anytime we want to treat something, it needs to be guided by an image so we know that we're hitting the right target.
Got it.
So, we do have a source of doing that without radiation, and that is this big ultrasound machine that you see over here. I use ultrasound for a couple of other purposes to diagnose as well. So a lot of us sometimes think that the best way to get a picture done is to get an MRI. And MRIs are great for some things, but they're still pictures.
Right.
And so if a patient comes in, sometimes they'll say, I'm hurting, and I had an MRI and it said I was normal. And so I'll say, well, let me put the ultrasound probe on your shoulder or whatever it is and watch you actually move. And sometimes we pick up on things that we would miss with a still picture like an MRI.
Yeah.
So ultrasound gives us an advantage in that regard. And then, you know, we have a tech come in once a week. And the nice thing about that is she's trained to do heart, liver, kidney, breast, ovary, pelvis, prostate, et cetera. So especially if someone's coming in here to get surveillance for any kind of hormone replacement therapy, we can look at all the, quote, risk factors and really minimize them however possible.
Right.
So-
Yeah, I recently went and got a breast exam, did the normal exam, and they called me back for a second look. And it was the ultrasound that they were able to really get a good look. So I understand what you're saying. So when you take the ultrasound,
Yes.
have to help you get a better look into things.
Yeah, and in the United States, I think approximately 40% of women have dense breast tissue that requires ultrasound.
That's me. Yep.
And they all get callbacks. And of course, when you're the patient and you go get a scan done
Just give
and
me
they
an
call you
ultrasound.
back, it makes you nervous, right? It's
Oh,
anxiety.
oh my gosh,
provoking.
I was
Right.
filming when I got that call back. So on top of like the anxiety and pressures of work, then it's also like, do I have cancer?
Right.
You know, and it's never the call that you want to get. But as a patient, I was also like, why don't you just if you know I have dense breast tissue, just give me an ultrasound instead of taking me through all that.
Right. And then, so we do use ultrasound for that. And then there are some patients who, let's say they have a family history of a particular kind of cancer, or let's say an aneurysm or something that's otherwise hard to detect.
Yeah.
We will offer them, we have a contract with Prenuvo so they can go get full body MRIs for surveillance.
Talked about that
I
earlier
just learned
today.
that. I knew
did.
that you could find out if you may have cancer in any stage with the Prenuvo scanning, but my mother passed away from a brain aneurysm.
I'm
So when
sorry.
she told me that today, I was like, okay, I really need to get it because I didn't know you could also see that if I've had an aneurysm before. That's crazy.
We have actually a patient in our practice that signed up as a member, had a similar story, you know, her mother had passed from that, and actually found a really, really tiny one, right? But now she knows, and at least she has the opportunity to do something about it before it becomes severe.
Right,
So,
yeah.
so we're very much about empowering people with data. The more data you have, I think the better you can prepare and make better decisions. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Love that. All right, Doc. This is my favorite part. One of my favorite parts of your facility is the escape massage. This thing is it's crazy. I don't think people are ready.
We were very proud to roll this out, so we were the
Yeah.
first people in Georgia to have one.
So today we have Big Fella. He is in here. He is about to get a massage. Are you guys ready? Hey, Big Fella.
It's so funny. Are we professional?
We are professionals. All right. So they're going to show you how this is done. Come over here, because you're in your other shot. There you go. Never twitch your back to the camera. Great. All right.
So,
Keep all of that. She's going to give you, what's your name again? Trinice is going
how you
to give you
how you doing?
a tutorial of how this works. It's
How we
amazing.
doing?
Alrighty, so you already have your clothes on, which is perfect. You'll lay on the table on your stomach and your face will go in the face rest. Once you get on the table, there's going to be a full onboarding process for you.
It says, welcome, Wes.
It'll do a body scan. You can change the bolster setting, the headrest, and the armrest setting, all with a touch of a button. You can change the pressure, the music that plays, and even the video that plays on screen.
Okay.
All right,
Good.
Trinice. All right, clock it.
No problem.
Yeah, and so because we capture so much data on each patient, typically we use a screen like this that enables us to put all of things up at one time,
Oh, wow.
and that makes it easily more understood and visualized, so that you don't leave thinking, well, gosh, they told me so many things and now I'm lost.
Right.
So you can see a bunch of different kinds of data, and we call this concept the digital twin. So if you look up here, there's two different sets of DNA. On the far left side, we would typically get. One is the DNA that you would use from your saliva, and that's what your mom and dad gave you. And the other is actually the DNA of the little microbes that inhabit your colon, and we call that the microbiome. And there's been a lot of evidence about how the interaction between the bugs that live in your gut affect your immune system and your brain in particular. And so we use that as a way to stratify risk. We do draw blood and look at micronutrients. So anybody who gets a medicine or a supplement here is getting it because we test it in such a way that we know your unique prescription is unique to you. We do get exercise data, and so you see that guy on the bike. That's called a.
You did it.
So Melissa did great.
No, I got to do it again.
Melissa did great. It's just we'll have to get the music a little more hardcore next time.
There you go.
But yeah, so that tells us about how well you breathe in oxygen, how well you pump it to your muscles, and then how well your muscles use it. And it used to be we used VO2 max for athletes who are trying to win races.
Yeah.
But we also found that for like during COVID, for example, if you wanted to be the person who is super sick and you wanted to get out of the hospital and get off a ventilator, well, it turns out having a higher VO2 max predicted your survivability in a better way. So on the one hand, it's applicable to pro athletes, but on the other hand, it's applicable for everybody
Yeah.
who wants to just have a good quality of life and a good health span.
Can I ask you something? Speaking of COVID, have you noticed a rise in people with breathing issues after COVID? Because I know for me, I'm implementing like running into my workout schedule now, or workout regimen now. And for a while, like I could barely like keep up. I was like cutting it off because I was like, this is too much. Just even breathing was hard. And even with singing, like I can't hold my breath for as long as I used to. And I'm wondering if COVID had any type of implications on that.
We've definitely seen some patients have longer term pulmonary scarring, so little scars on the inside of their lungs, depending on how they responded and the severity of the disease they had. But you can train that, right? And so the important part is, one, recognizing it. And it sounds like you have some insight because you're working out all the time, so you notice the difference.
Yeah.
Right? But then we could test for it, and we could program the way that you work out in such a way to optimize how much volume you take in and out when you breathe, and hopefully get you past that limitation so you don't notice it anymore.
Yeah, it's a lot better now, but I noticed like the last 2 minutes of my mile today, my heart was like, it felt almost like constricted, like it was like it hurt. I was like,
Well, we'll book your VO2 max test next
Yes.
week. So,
whenever you're ready.
yeah. So we do use images, which we talked about a little bit. So you see the DEXA scan here, ultrasound that we talked about over here. And the way we're using ultrasound is typically to get an actual picture of the inside of your blood vessels. So you draw a cholesterol panel, and it's like, well, maybe you got plaque in your arteries, maybe you don't. We don't really know. But if you take a picture of it and actually look inside, we can be very confident.
Wow.
And then the discussion about how we minimize cardiac risk becomes much better informed. And you see the whole body MRI over here on the right side, which we talked about. And then we do use some data for wearables. So for example, I think Melissa's wearing a glucose monitor right now.
Oh, wow.
Melissa's not a diabetic, but we're learning about the kinds of food she eats and the order in which she eats it and how it affects how you release glucose and insulin and how you recover from workouts.
Right.
So we find a lot of meaning from that data, and when you put it all together, really the goal is that you know so much now about your individual physiology, you become the master of that, right?
Yeah.
And there was a paper published related to microbiome called the American Gut Project. There's a term they used in that paper called citizen scientist. And I was like, well, I want every patient who comes in this door to become a citizen scientist, because when they're informed by that kind of data, you can make the best decisions for yourself.
Well, this has been amazing, very informative. I'm glad we got to come and share your facility with people. I think the older I get, the more I am being more cognizant of my health and making sure I'm taking the proper steps. And especially with this last demonstration, it shows you so much. I recently went to the doctor because every time I go for my annual, I get blood taken. So like around 9 panels of blood taken to really see what's going on, what I'm deficient in, and came back that I was borderline diabetic. Yes, so when you said you're on the glucose monitor, I was like, that may be something I need to do as well, just to make sure that those levels are changing. I recently took on fasting this month, and I was doing a 16 to 8, or yes.
Intermittent fasting
Yeah,
window?
6 to 18. Yeah, intermittent fasting window. So 18 hours I'm not eating, and then from 12 to 6 I'll eat.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, how sustainable is that? Can that be a lifestyle, or is that something that you shouldn't try to do?
No, I think it's been sustainable for a lot of people. For me, we use, like, and Melissa knows something called a fasting mimicking diet, which is like a 5-day protocol.
Really?
We see other people who do 12-12s. We see people who do other intervals besides 16-8. I've had people do 1 meal a day, which I would not be good at doing, but some people really like it, right? So I do think there's a lot of data to support that, and if you find that it fits your lifestyle.
I have found that I have so much energy. I don't know what that is. I don't know if I'm resting more, I'm going to bed earlier and waking up earlier and making sure I work out every day. But this is my second week, and normally around 12, 1 o'clock, or even like sometimes around that 2 or 3 o'clock window, I'll feel a crash coming. And I have not felt that in this past 2 weeks. I used to joke around saying it was nap time, like when we were in school where we had to go to sleep. I was like, maybe this just kind of carried on into adulthood. But I feel like it was my eating habits and even my schedule and not resting enough. But I did want to know if that's something that's sustainable.
Yeah, and I think to your point, if you were to study that phenomenon you just described with a glucose monitor, what you would probably find, and I know this from personal experience, is that time when you felt like it was nap time is probably because you had a big glucose swing up and then a big swing the opposite way after your insulin was released. And so it's that low period that gets you feeling like, oh, it's after lunch, I'm in a coma.
Yeah.
Right? But it sounds like you're, mastering your own fate, because with the 16-8 window, it sounds like you're not having the crash, which is great.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So as soon as we got here, I had my lunch with me. As soon as the clock struck 12, I was like, because I didn't want to be in here like, oh, no. I'm sorry.
What's so interesting is I told you, as becoming a part of Pravida, I decided to get an executive membership for myself to do the executive physical. So Dr. Turner mentioned, I've never worn a glucose monitor. My mom was diabetic my entire life.
Yes.
She actually had gestational diabetes when she had me.
Wow.
And so I've always seen her, shoot insulin, and just that was the norm. So putting on this glucose monitor, I was telling Dr. Turner the first week I had it, those swings, up, down, nap time, I saw it, and then I did a 5-day, the prolonged fast. And it was even the entire time while I was fasting.
Melissa.
And I felt amazing, and I'm like, wow, and he said it, he was like, now you have the data, and it shows you. Sleeping better, like all of the things connected. So understanding like how fasting and the benefits of that, but also seeing how it impacts, those are things I would have never been privy to, or really understanding the data behind it without going through this process.
So the glucose monitor, is it something that you have to attach to your arm?
Super tiny.
Did it hurt?
Right here, not. He had to put it on for me. I was like, I can't do it. I was like, oh, I didn't feel it. Oh,
I
so
hear
simple.
that, yeah.
So easy.
Yeah, maybe when you don't know, you don't know. Right?
Yeah, it's true.
That's a normal feeling, I think. But
How long do you keep it on?
The one that we have lasts for 15 days. And so, you can do it once, you can do it twice, but being able to see over time.
Yeah.
And then you can take a picture of what you eat so you understand where those highs and lows come from.
Right. That's
And
amazing.
then for me, I wore it. I mean, I was still doing CrossFit, so I was doing pull-ups and overhead squats and
Oh,
stuff.
and it didn't bother you?
Didn't interfere with me at all.
Okay.
And then, of course, when people around you see you doing it, they're like, "What is that?"
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
like, "I want that."
Right.
They're like, "I want my glucose to be better than yours." You know, and I'm like, "Let's go."
It's a competition.
You know,
Everything's
let's
a
go.
competition.
Right,
Yeah.
but it becomes a team, and I think people engaged in a common pursuit, they hold each other accountable, and that community is very powerful.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's really what we're here to create is power and community.
Yeah, I love that. Yes. So tell the people where you guys are, where they can find you. We want to send as many people as we can your way so that we all can live a better, healthier lifestyle.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're on the south side of Buckhead, close to Piedmont Atlanta Hospital. Address 1801 Peachtree Street Northeast, Suite 150. We have a beautiful video about how to come in if you're coming in for the first time. And free parking, so that's great.
We love free
And,
parking.
Free parking in
Yes.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Pravida.com. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. You can see all the information, testimonials. I think the people who are coming in are really having an impact. And as Dr. Turner mentioned, we're trying to create that community. So thank you for coming. You are now part of our community.
Yay, I love it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. So today I am wearing a white button-up Balenciaga shirt. I'm wearing YSL earrings, two-toned, mixing the metals a little bit. I'm wearing my signature jewelry and a Schiaparelli ring. My pants are from Zara, black pleated, so comfortable. And my shoes are YSL loafers. Hey guys, we just finished our very first KIPS field trip. I hope you all had an amazing time touring the Pravida Health facility with me. I know I did. I've been there before, but today I learned so much more. What I want you guys to focus on is getting in front of your health issues versus trying to catch up with them, all right? In the meantime, in between time, keep it positive, sweeties. And remember, share this episode with someone who could use a little positivity. Have a good one. See you next time.